Controversial finishes are nothing new at the Daytona 24 Hours. We have seen time and time again that drivers will push up to and often over the line in the quest for racing's most sought-after timepiece. But with 15 all-star entries in this year's GTD Pro category, the on-track battling was taken to a whole new level, leading to one of the most controversial moments in IMSA history. So come join me aboard this number 3 Corvette as Danny, Alex, and Antonio navigate their way through the carnage and push to the limit in the quest for 3 freshly minted Rolex watches. With just over 5 hours remaining in the race, it is crunch time as the safety car has pulled off the track and the field is about to go back to green flag racing. As we can see, the class-leading number 65 Mustang of Dennis Olsen has left a huge gap to the LMP2s out front. That way, he can try to anticipate the green flag and get a jump on his competitors. But as we can see, the rest of this GTD Pro field is trying the same tactic to see if they can anticipate the green flag and get a jump on the rest of their competitors. Finally, it goes green, and the 64 Mustang of Austin Cindric gets a fantastic restart. He is tucked into the draft of the number 3 Corvette as he pulls to the left-hand side 2 wheels over that yellow line as he tucks in behind Dennis Olsen, who led the field back to green. It's 3 wide with this number 3 Corvette falling back to 5th position as they break into the first corner. We can see carnage up front as there's an LMP2 stopped on the right-hand side and a slow LMP2 on the apex. The number 81 Ferrari of Miguel Molina makes his way past the 3 Corvette with a Corvette passing that LMP2 as well as Antonio Garcia breaks late into the International Horseshoe, trying to go around the outside of that Ferrari, but not able to complete the pass as the Ferrari now goes side by side with the 64 Mustang, tapping the brakes, backing out of it as they head into the kink. Antonio Garcia tries to look up the inside, but backs out of it as well as he breaks late once again into the second horseshoe, looking around the outside of that Ferrari of Miguel Molina, who is able to hold on to the position as they head into the final corner on this infield section. Molina pokes his nose up the inside of the 64 Mustang, but Cindric defends the position as the field makes their way onto the oval once again. We can now see the relative performance of these cars in a straight line. We can see that Mustang is really strong on the high banks and able to hold off the Ferrari and Corvette behind, which are both tucked into the draft. Into turn 1, Antonio Garcia closes in on the 81 Ferrari. They brake as late as they dare. Antonio Garcia pokes his nose up the inside, but the door closes. He makes contact, sending the Ferrari spinning. The Corvette now up into 5th position in category, but the stewards might not be too happy with how that pass was executed. Into the International Horseshoe, and the 3 Corvette closes in on the 64 Mustang of Austin Cindric, who is tucked up behind his teammate in the 65 car. Now, we saw how strong that Mustang was on the high banks, but here on the infield, with the tires beginning to wear, we can see the Mustang struggling for grip as it makes its way through and out of these low-speed corners. Into the second horseshoe, and Antonio Garcia looks around the outside of that Mustang as the rear is just sliding around on the 64 car. He doesn't quite have the grip and has to defend to the inside one more time as they make their way through this long left-hander that leads onto the high banks. Under acceleration, the Corvette has a slight advantage on the 64 Mustang and is tucked as closely as he can possibly be as they go through NASCAR's 1 and 2. But we can once again see the straight line performance of that Mustang as Austin Cindric begins to slowly pull away from the 3 Corvette. Garcia has been able to keep it close as they cross the start-finish line and enter the infield section, which favors this number 3 Corvette. Cindric holds a tight defensive line into turn 1 as Antonio Garcia gets a better run coming out of the corner and is firmly in the draft of that 64 car. Cindric once again holding a defensive line as Garcia breaks late around the outside of the 64 Mustang, which has the better line through the corner, but Garcia holds tough around the outside, puts the power down, and makes his way past. Garcia is driving like a man on a mission and already has that number 65 Mustang in his crosshairs. He breaks late into the West Horseshoe and closes in on that 65 Mustang of Dennis Olsen that led the field as they went back to green. Into this tight left-hander that leads onto the high banks, and he is firmly in the draft of that 65 Mustang and within touching distance of the class-leading number 1 BMW. With Garcia working his way up through the field, the stewards have handed him a drive-through penalty for his contact with that number 81 Ferrari. So the team will have to rely on another safety car to bring them back in contention. With a 3 car on the back foot, the number 4 Corvette is in a battle for the class lead with the number 1 BMW, who is just behind. But just ahead of both of them is the 48 BMW, which is many laps down by this point. And Tommy Milner is trying to find a way past as they head into the International Horseshoe. He looks up the inside, but the BMW defends and is slow through the apex with the number 1 car looking around the outside. Milner makes contact as he tries to avoid the number 48, which was slow through the apex. As the lap continues, we can see visible damage on the rear of that Corvette, and Tommy Milner lets that number 48 BMW know exactly how he feels about his driving as the 48 serves a drive-through penalty for blocking. With this drama unfolding out front, the safety car has come out, bunching up the field and bringing this 3 Corvette back in contention for the class victory. With the field ready to go back to green flag racing, the 65 Mustang has once again left a large gap to the LMP2 cars, trying to anticipate the green flag and avoid being overtaken before they make their way across the start-finish line. Just ahead, the 69 Mercedes of Schiller makes his way up the inside of the 64 Mustang of Prio as they make their way through the tri-oval and into turn 1. And LMP2 screams around the outside, and so does Connor Zilic in that 91 Trackhouse Corvette as he holds tough on that wide line. The Corvette is pinched on the exit, and they go side by side through the right-hander, through the left-hander as well. The Mustang hits its brakes, Zilic is held up, and Sims goes around the outside of both of them as he closes in on his teammate with a damaged left rear quarter panel. An LMP2 car comes screaming past and nearly makes contact with the 4 Corvette as he squeezes around the outside through the kink. Into the first horseshoe, and Sims closes in on his teammate through the apex. As he puts the power down, the field is strung out, and Sims has to defend to the inside to prevent being overtaken through this left-hander as they make their way onto the high banks. Now, with just over an hour and 45 minutes left in the race, strategy will be critical because these GTD cars can do about 55 minutes on a fuel tank. So, to make it to the end with just one stop is possible, but will require a huge amount of fuel saving. So if we listen as Sims crosses the start-finish line, he lifts off the throttle to coast and save fuel. But around the outside goes Lauren Heinrich, trying to take advantage of the fuel-saving Corvette. Sims is able to hang on, but Lauren Heinrich is not giving up, and they go side by side through the left-hander. Sims goes 2 wheels in the grass as Heinrich tries to brake late and go around the outside through the first horseshoe. Sims has the inside line, but Heinrich holds tough on that outside line and shuffles this number 3 Corvette back to 6th position in class. Sims is trying to do the most difficult thing in motorsport, save fuel and maintain position. Up the inside goes Connor Zilic in that number 91 WeatherTech-sponsored Corvette. Fuel saving seems like the right idea at this point, but it's so difficult when you're being passed by your competitors. Next up behind this number 3 Corvette is the 64 Mustang of Seb Prio. As they work their way down the high banks through this long left-hander, we can see the Mustang closing on the number 3 Corvette. It seems a foregone conclusion that he will pass this number 3 car down this straight. Prio looks up the inside, the Corvette defends, and then goes back to the outside with Prio going up the inside again. The Corvette lifts off to save fuel, and Prio is easily passed as he makes his way into the bus stop. Although this 3 car is playing the fuel strategy game, that's not the same for all of his competitors. And if we listen aboard the 64 Mustang, we can hear Prio is flat all the way into turn 1. Therefore, this 64 car will need to make 2 more pit stops to make it to the end of the race. So, although the 64 car is ahead on track, it is not ahead on strategy. And sure enough, with an hour and 20 minutes left in the race, Seb Prio pulls to left-hand side to bring his 64 Mustang into the pit lane for another tank of fuel. Sims's fuel-saving wizardry continues as he closes in on the field, coasting into turn 1. He is now directly behind that 69 Mercedes of Schiller as an LMP2 squeezes around the outside. Sims not only having to worry about navigating the GTD traffic, but also the LMP2s which are overtaking as well. Schiller's run through the horseshoe is compromised by the LMP2 traffic on the inside, and Sims gets the better run coming out of the exit as he is on the grippier, cleaner racing line. The number 69 Mercedes taps the brake as we see dust up ahead with those LMP2 cars trying to overtake the other GTD Pro cars. Into the second horseshoe, and we can see that number 69 Mercedes is caught behind Zilich in the Trackhouse car. Zilich defends to the inside with Schiller looking around the outside into this left-hander. As they put the power down, we see that Mercedes struggling with rear grip as Sims goes side by side with that number 69 car on the exit. The Mercedes, though, has good power in a straight line, and we can see him nose ahead. Sims uses a side draft, though, as that Mercedes tries to fight back once again and is able to just nose ahead as Sims lifts out of it and coasts into the braking zone for the bus stop. Through the bus stop, though, we can see that Mercedes moving around a bit more than the Corvette, maybe has a bit less downforce, but Sims settles in behind the 69 car, trying to save fuel and make it to the end on just one more stop. Just over an hour remaining, another one bites the dust, and the 69 Mercedes makes its way into the pit lane to refuel. So, as Sims coasts into turn one, this 3 car is finding itself in a better and better position as this race goes on, and truly in contention for the class victory. But as Sims hammers through NASCAR 4, we can look to the right and see that there is a yellow light flashing, indicating that the safety car has been scrambled. Strangely, this means that the 3 car actually has to save even more fuel because the regulations stipulate that the GTD Pro cars will not be allowed to pit for another 10 minutes behind the safety car. Otherwise, this 3 Corvette will incur a penalty and be forced to take the restart from the rear of the GTD Pro field. So, as they make their way through the infield, the 3 Corvette and 65 Mustang just ahead are absolutely trundling, trying desperately to save as much fuel as possible. I don't think in my entire history of watching IMSA racing, I have seen such a slow lap through the infield, as both the 65 and the 3 actually fall back from the safety car queue. But with just over 45 minutes remaining, we can see that indeed the 3 Corvette and 65 Mustang did save the requisite amount of fuel and now accelerate as they make their way into the pit lane and slam on the brakes for the most important pit stop of this entire IMSA season. And this is where the pit crews and engineers will shine, as they will have a direct influence on who is the winner of the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The 65 Mustang pulls into his pit box first, with the Rexy Porsche going in next, and the 4 and 3 Corvettes pulling in tandem into their pit stalls as well. The crews hop over the wall and bolt on 4 fresh Michelin tires for both of these Corvettes. We can see them hopping over tires and cables as they hurriedly bolt on these freezing cold Michelin tires. The 4 car drops off its jacks first as the 3 has a windshield tear-off removed and then follows suit as well. The 4 crew massaging the rear left quarter panel on that damaged Corvette. With the tires done, they are both just waiting on fuel. The 4 launches first and is ahead of the rest of the competition. The 3 is close behind, but if we look to the right, we can see the 65 Mustang and the 77 Porsche have both beat out Alexander Sims. Although Sims is in 4th place as they exit the pit lane, the 69 Mercedes is still out on track. So if we look to the right as Sims accelerates out of the pit lane, there is the 69 Mercedes, which shuffles the 3 Corvette back to 5th position in the GTD Pro category. So with the field reassembled and ready to go back to green flag racing, it is 4 Corvette of Nico Verone leading 65 Mustang of Dennis Olsen, followed closely behind by the 69 Mercedes of Schiller, with 77 Heinrich just behind, and this 3 Corvette lining up in 5th. And once again, as they exit the bus stop, Verone is leaving a huge gap to the LMP2s as he tries to jump the restart and stay ahead of that 65 Mustang. Verone gently weaves side to side as he generates temperature in his tires and tries to distract that Mustang just behind. Finally, the race goes green and he accelerates away. Wait, no it hasn't. Verone has to check up as the GTP leader hasn't gone yet. He is now a sitting duck to the cars behind as the race finally goes green, but Verone was hitting the brakes. The Mustang pulls to the right-hand side and is already ahead, as is that 77 Porsche of Lauren Heinrich, with the 69 Mercedes closing in on the 4 Corvette, with the 3 following closely behind. Schiller looks around the outside of Verone into turn 1 with that Mercedes hanging tough on the outside line. Sims temporarily makes it 3 wide on the exit, but thinks better of it and backs out of it, falling in behind his teammate, who looks up the inside into the International Horseshoe, with Sims going around the outside. That wide line hanging on as his teammate is caught behind that Mercedes through the apex. Sims puts the power down and is up into 4th position, now behind this 69 Mercedes. Restarting from 1st position can be so difficult here at Daytona, with the 4 Corvette falling back from 1st to 5th as they enter the 2nd horseshoe, with the number 69 car running wide as Schiller tries to extract every ounce of performance. Schiller holds a defensive line into turn 6 as Sims pokes his nose up the inside. That distracts the Mercedes, which gets a little slide through the apex. Clearly, Schiller is struggling for temperature in those rear tires, and as they stretch their legs down this long straight, the 3 Corvette is tucked in behind the 69 Mercedes. And tell me what you think, but I think he is bump drafting here, actually pushing the Mercedes forward as they try to close back in on the 77 Porsche and 65 Mustang. Into the bus stop, they have closed a considerable gap on the Mustang and Porsche just ahead. And through the 2nd apex, we can see that Mercedes once again struggling as the rear end wiggles through the 2nd apex. The Corvette, though, once again, I think bump drafts the 69 Mercedes, once again pushing it closer and closer to Rexy. And as they head under the grandstands, this Mercedes is firmly in the draft of that 77 Porsche and is looking for a way past. He looks around the outside into turn 1, but switches onto the inside. He makes contact with the rear of the Porsche, though, and squeezes his way past with a bump and run. Sims is looking to take advantage as well and goes side by side with Heinrich on the exit, and through this right and left hand sequence is able to get a nose ahead as they enter the braking zone. Sims brakes late around the outside of the Mercedes as well, but Heinrich makes contact with the Mercedes, which hits the side of this Corvette, which runs side by side with the 69 car on the exit, with the 4 trying to find its way past as well. The Mercedes has a nose ahead, but Sims has the inside line, with the Mercedes falling back through the kink. The 3 Corvette is up into 2nd position, now directly behind the 65 Mustang, which has shown great pace on the restarts, but begins to struggle as the tires start to wear. And sure enough, just a few laps later, this 3 car is closing in on that 65 Mustang. When Ford announced they would be rejoining IMSA's GT category, this is what we were all hoping for. Ford versus Corvette, Blue Oval versus Bowtie, for the victory at America's most prestigious endurance race, and the 65 Mustang is now on the back foot as it wiggles, struggling to put the power down coming out of the International Horseshoe. As the GTPs now come flying past, throwing another wrench into this battle. Into the 2nd horseshoe, the 65 Mustang defends against the 31 Whelen Engineering Cadillac, which looks around the outside. But with that Cadillac slow through the apex, Olsen's exit is compromised as he is still side by side with the 31 Cadillac. Into turn 6, and the Cadillac still up the inside, squeezes the Mustang wide. This is Sims's chance. He tries to put the power down, but that Mustang on the wider line is able to hold the position and stay out front as they make their way through NASCAR 2. Once again, though, the Mustang is strong in a straight line and begins to pull away as they continue around the oval. But as they cross the start-finish line to begin another lap around Daytona, the 3 car is close to the 65 and in the braking zone closes in once again, with Olsen holding a defensive line through that first corner. Sims has the better launch, but nowhere to go as he is tucked up underneath the rear wing of that 65 Mustang. Olsen once again holds a defensive line. Sims looks around the outside, gets a nose ahead, is in first position, but the Mustang has the tighter line with that BMW running just behind both of them. And once again, Sims has to tuck in behind the 65 Mustang. This is breathless stuff here at Daytona. An epic battle between Mustang and Corvette for the victory. Into the 2nd horseshoe, and once again, Sims closes in as that Mustang slides, putting the power down coming out of the corner. Olsen's tires are wearing out, but there isn't much time left in this race. Through turn 6, and the Corvette is bumped wide by the BMW. If we look to the left-hand side, we can see the nose of that M4 as they go side by side on the high banks. Sims uses the side draft on the BMW to stay close and to claw his way back alongside. They are going door to door for 2nd position. IMSA's newest rivalry, Paul Miller versus Pratt Miller, unfolding before our very eyes down the backstretch. And into the bus stop, Sims is the last of the late breakers and holds it tough around the outside of that BMW to hang on to second position and try to keep closing in on that 65 Mustang. But we can see that all of this fierce battling has allowed the Mustang to pull a gap on the Corvette. Into turn 1, Sims brakes as late as he possibly can. He has to close in on this Mustang through the infield if he wants any chance at winning this Rolex 24. Into the International Horseshoe, and the Mustang is really slow through the apex. We can see how much of a gap that 3-car closed as they slammed on the brakes into that corner. On the exit though, once again the Mustang is strong under acceleration and pulls a little bit of a gap on this 3 Corvette. That Mustang is struggling, but Olsen is doing just enough to stay ahead of this 3 Corvette as he slides the rear of that 65 car on the exit. Into turn 6, the Mustang holds the defensive line. Sims once again looks around the outside of that 65 car, but is not able to put the power down as he is in the marbles, and the Mustang easily stays ahead on the exit. But while Sims is focused on this Mustang, he is still under attack from the number 1 BMW, who is all over his rear as they break into the West Horseshoe. The BMW pushes the Corvette wide and sneaks up the inside through the apex, the classic bump and run for the number 1 car as he makes his way past the 3 Corvette, but Sims is having absolutely none of it and sends it up the inside into turn 6, making his way past van der Linde, but the BMW has the run coming out of the corner on the better line. It is once again BMW versus Corvette on the high banks as they go door to door. The Corvette using the side draft of the BMW to claw its way back alongside, but this straight is so long, the BMW is able to do the same thing and claw its way back ahead of the Corvette. How close do you like it for second place as they make contact going down the straight? Sims is once again able to hang it around the outside in the braking zone for the bus stop as he holds on to second place. But once again, that Mustang has pulled a gap on these 2 cars with them battling so tough for second place. Into turn 1, that BMW is tucked up behind this 3 Corvette with the 4 car looking to find a way past, but makes contact with the 1, which tags the rear of the 3 as well, sending Sims wide and allowing the 4 of Verone to claw his way up into second position in the GTD Pro category with just 10 minutes remaining in the race. And once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but all of this battling is allowing Olsen to pull a larger and larger gap. So although his tires are struggling and these Corvettes are faster, that lead is looking more and more insurmountable. Into turn 1, the 4 Corvette of Verone runs a little bit wide and he allows his teammate to pass as the call has come over the radio that he is being handed a penalty for his contact with the number 1 BMW. So with just 8 minutes remaining, the 3 Corvette is once again behind the 65 Mustang. But although Sims is faster in this number 3 Corvette, with 0 minutes left on the clock, Olsen did enough to keep that Mustang in the lead, and Ford claims its first major endurance victory with that Mustang GT3. It was a valiant effort from that number 3 Corvette to fight back from the penalty with under 5 hours remaining in the race, but ultimately, it was just too much battling to catch that number 65 Mustang. As we see Sims stick his thumb out the window, gesticulating a bit more of a friendly message than we saw earlier in the race. Anyways, if you guys made it this far, I want to thank you so much for watching and so much for supporting. I want to also say, if you did like this content, we have some really exciting stuff coming out with Luke Hartog in the next couple weeks, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I want to give a special shout out to my channel members. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support. I really appreciate it. I love you guys too, and I cannot wait to see you in the next video.